In this part of the compass, we're going to be going over the mission statement. The mission statement is the statement that describes both the purpose and the why behind the business's existence. Why does that purpose even matter? That's pretty much what you're putting into a statement. So why is this important? You really want to simplify and focus your client's direction by creating this mission statement. You're going to put that in the clearest and simplest way to describe why you're here and what makes them different. I'm not a copywriter though, you might be saying. What the heck? Like, I'm not cut out for this. Join the club. I'm not a copywriter either. I'm super insecure about my usage with words, how I talk, and how inadequate I am with this kind of stuff. I now hire a copywriter to help me with this, but at the beginning I didn't hire a copywriter and I just did this myself. It's something that I think everybody can do no matter what. Maybe it's not going to be really, really perfect your very first time. I think people are hiring you understanding that you're not a copywriter. The real value in what you're doing here is you are giving them a perspective of what you believe is who they are and why you're important. And it does give them a base. It does give them a base of who they are and where they can go. Yes, they might want to go to a copywriter later on to get it worded maybe a little bit differently, but they still have a core understanding of who they are regardless of how it sounds. No matter if you're a copywriter or not, into creating a mission statement, because it's really hard to create a brand without a statement to decide where we're taking this and where you're headed. So let's talk about how to create the mission statement. You're first going to just say who they are and why that's important in your own words. You're not going to do it without much thought. Just write it down, get it out on paper. Now, number two, you're going to use one of the mission statement templates that I have. I've got 3 different templates that you can use and choose from, and this is going to help you word it a little bit differently so that you can compare what you wrote to different templates and you can kind of see which one makes more sense, which one do I like sounding better. I use different templates for each time, and sometimes I just go with actually what I said and not one of the templates. Okay, and here's the mission statement templates. What you're going to do is anything that's capitalized, you're going to insert information from the client into here. So you're going to insert like company name, market category or industry, what the service or product is, the differentiating voice. And these are things that you're going to find in the strategy session and along with the rest of the finalized strategy. Once you actually decide what the differentiating factor is, then you're going to come and you're going to put that in there. You're going to insert it all in there. The next thing that you're going to do is you're going to evaluate yourself. After you do those templates and you write it out yourself, you want to ask yourself, what is still missing from here? What's not clear enough? And is there anything that could be said better? That's when you're going to maybe want to go to thesaurus.com and start looking up adjectives to replace the ones that you wrote in there to see if you could say it a little bit better. The next thing that you're going to do is you're going to break it down and simplify, and I'll kind of show you what I mean here. So I used one of the templates here for my own business, and I said Carly Anna is the only graphic/web designer that provides branding by capitalizing on and celebrating your difference to courageous thought leaders and educators. Then I broke it down even further. I took a lot of the fluff out and I tried to make it concise and more simple. And I wrote, branding by celebrating your differences to courageous thought leaders and educators. And then I broke it down even further and I said, branding by celebrating your differences. Now, the reason that I want to do this is sometimes I need to go with, and my clients need to go with, a mission statement that's like at the bottom one. That's branding by celebrating your differences, something that's clear, to the point, concise, and simple. Sometimes you do need that overall statement though. There's value in both, and you need to make sure that your statement is broad enough where you're like, yeah, I get the whole picture of it, but if I need to break it down, and if I'm really talking about what's important here, this is what it is. So a few tips when you're creating the mission statement. You need to make sure it's in the tone and voice that you set and decided with your client during the strategy session. During the strategy session, you decided on 3 overall adjectives that you wanted to come off and sound as. And so go back to those adjectives and check off and make sure, yes, it's in the same voice and tone, because you can deliver the same message a lot of different ways if it's said in a different tone. The next thing is to say it clearly, but don't try and say it all. You don't have to get super, super specific with what everything is and what everything does. You don't have to list out specific references, specific products or services. This can be pretty broad. You don't want it to be broad enough where it could feel like it could be anybody's mission statement, but you do need it to have room enough to grow and to evolve. So say it clearly, don't try to say it all. Okay, Okay, next thing you're going to do is you're going to test your mission statement. I have 2 questions that you're going to ask yourself. Could the client's competitors use this exact same statement? I've done that so many times where I'm like, this could go with any food business or any wine business. And so then I have to go through and rewrite it. Does it distinguish your client from all other businesses? If you gave an employee or a customer a blind screening test asking her to read your mission statement and 4 others without identifying which is which, would she be able to tell which mission statement is yours? If you didn't get that, like, if you compare the mission statement up to your competitors, is it going to be differentiating and identifying enough that you know, yeah, this is X, Y, and Z's company? Okay, now let's just overview what we've talked about with the mission statement. You need to first write who they are and why that matters in your own words. Don't give it much thought, just put it down. Second, you're going to try and use a template. Third, you're going to evaluate what you've written. And fourth, you're going to break it down and simplify it into something concise and actionable. And then fifth, you're going to test your mission statement to see if it works.